This is Pete Moore. Wanted to officially announce the release of Time to Win Again, 52 takeaways from team sports to ensure your business success. I wrote this book over the last year. I think you're going to love it. Good to Great meets Where's Waldo. Pick them up for your team. Time to win in 2022. Happy to come to your club, your studio, your company, and talk about ways we can optimize business and win going forward. Go Halo. This is Pete Moore on Halo Talks NYC. Lone Star State coming back for his second podcast.
Hey.
Your friend and mine, T. Blachek, Austin, Texas, OTF.
Thanks, Pete. It's great to be here and excited to talk with you again. It was, wow, 3 years, right?
3 years ago. So we actually did the first podcast when we were using it as kind of part of like a marketing tool to go and get the growth capital. And actually we had some great quotes in the last one, and I said to you, and I didn't actually practice. Yeah, I didn't do any prep for this, right, so cool. But I remember everything that we talked about. And I said, how quick can you grow? And you're like, hey man, I got a crock pot, a manager, I can't microwave them.
Yep.
And that was kind of the script in a lot of the groups that we talked to.
Yeah, that was a great closing quote for the ClearLight folks, ClearLight partners. They listened to that podcast and they liked what they heard and liked what we were talking about. And they brought that up actually a couple times to me now. So.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was great. So we're on podcast number 306 now or something. So you were one of the first ones. So I'm glad you're back around. So you're down in Austin. You had an area development agreement. Put some jet fuel on this and give us an update on where you are, professionally with the company.
Yeah, 3 years ago, we did a deal with private equity group called ClearLight Partners out of California. We had 18 stores at the time, and we completed that deal in September of 2018, and they were the gas to really help us to take off. We immediately went out and started talking to other folks, and we did a number of acquisitions in 2019. We bought the state of Arizona with 36 stores. We bought Kansas with 13 stores. We got and purchased Oklahoma with probably 10, 11 stores, and purchased the Philadelphia and South Jersey markets with probably 33, 35 stores. Today we have 135 stores in 6 different states under our umbrella, and we actually have ownership of 61 of those studios. So when we started, we were 18. We're now at 61, basically tripled the size of the company here, and got through COVID, right?
Sure. So talk about, before we get to anything COVID related, ClearLight was one of the first private equity firms in the Planet Fitness network. ClearLight was one of the first private equity firms in Orange Theory, backing you as, the top operator. And how quickly did you need to move and kind of look at the map as like, okay, we're playing like that game of, risk, where it's like, hey, I can pick up these states, I'll digest them over time. And how did you think about the ability to kind of integrate those in and staff those up properly?
Yeah, one of the things we looked at was, how many white spaces did we have to open up, and then what was the opportunity to purchase and acquire. And in their Planet Fitness experience, ClearLight had not done a lot of purchases or acquisitions until later years with Planet Fitness, and they felt like that was a mistake. Mm-hmm. And so when they got involved in our group at Orange Theory Fitness, they said, let's start the acquisition process sooner, quicker, faster, and we were on a tear. I mean, literally, we went from 18 to 59 stores in a year. Mm-hmm. And the good news is we acquired a lot at the same time we were opening probably 5 or 6 studios. We took our eye off of that opening game, the pre-sale game. We should have kept our eye on that better. What transpired out of that was we probably shouldn't have done it that fast. There's a great note. When we look back at it, the ability to digest tripling the size of your company and also to build an infrastructure that's not only, remember, we were only in Texas, we were in Austin and San Antonio. So the concept there, now you're in 6 different states. You have to have an infrastructure to handle marketing, operations, facilities, maintenance. It just, it compounds it when we did it so fast. So I wish we had slowed that down.
Gotcha. So, as we kind of roll through COVID here and come out the other side, what are some of the, silver linings on maybe how you've modified your operations, how you maybe looked at acquisitions, maybe just say, hey, I could grow, but I'm going to grow at my own pace, and I'm also going to make sure I don't put the company at risk at the same time because I really don't know what macro things are going to happen that are outside of my control.
Pete, at the heart of my experience and myself, I'm a sales guy, I'm a marketing guy, and I love to be out there on the front of the spear, the tip of the spear, and trying to make things happen. And I've always been that way. I've tried to get things done. If it takes a normal guy 2 years to do something, I try to do it in a year. If it takes you, 12 weeks to get in shape, I try to do it in 5. I try to accelerate that. And so we had done that the first year. But certainly, we came to a screeching halt on March 17th, made an announcement, let 700 employees go, and shut the business down. Mm-hmm. And it was a tough day. Yeah. It was a very tough day in business. And everybody had a tough day and has had a tough time in COVID. I'm not saying we're any different from anybody else, sure. But today, I think when we look at what's happening is you see a lot of acquisitions out there. You see still consolidation of the Orange Theory market. And it's hard for me to step back and not want to race or be competitive. I'm competitive. Sure. I'm right now today. I'm the second largest consolidated group of Orange Theory fitnesses in the network. And you see some other groups doing a lot of acquisitions, and I'm very competitive. I want to be out there. However, that's probably not in the best interest of our group, and I need to stop thinking about being less competitive and really focusing on the health and the well-being of my business. Mm-hmm. And stay true to the business and stay true to not overpay for things right now. We look at acquisitions versus opening a studio. We can open studios at a much lower cost than we can to acquire a studio, another studio. So the value, right? What's my job as the CEO? Provide value to the shareholders.
Sure.
And so the value is really in the opening of studios, and we've kind of reset a little bit here coming out of COVID. We just opened up the first store out of COVID, by the way, for Orange Theory. Hit over 500 members in pre-sale.
Where is that?
It's in Bulverde, San Antonio.
Tough.
Yeah, but it's all good.
Let me just make one note on the growth side, because I think a lot of there's this phrase in private equity or in most deals, like grow or you're gonna get grow or die, or grow or you're gonna get lapped. But in your case, you kind of ran 4 laps around the track, and then now everyone's kind of catching up, but you still think that you're at pace with them, but you're actually 4 laps ahead on like a NASCAR.
Yeah.
So you might want to digest that for a second when you say like, hey, I want to grow. It's like, bro, you grew already. Like, let everyone kind of grow up and catch up to you.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. We were off to the races, and we still have a great plan going forward. We have good stuff happening. So,
let me ask you a question, because you and I have been around this industry for 30 plus years. I've been probably 25. You probably got 10 on me. When you not looks wise, just age and mileage, just mileage.
Yeah.
Well, that's like you're a seasoned executive. That doesn't mean like we're older or too old. But a lot of the companies in our industry, when they get to a certain size, it kind of falls apart. If you think about New York sports clubs, you think about 24-hour fitness. LA did some big acquisitions. I love those guys there. But they try to digest a 160 club deal on Bally's. I'm assuming people internally said, dude, probably not the best use of our time. Probably could have built, the 60 clubs that they kept at the end of the day. So you've been a part of organizations that have, been on fire, and then at some point it's like, dude, this thing's bigger than maybe it should be, it could be, or at some point this is like a super regional is a super regional. It's not a national. So do you think about some of the past, trip ups in the industry and say, look, I'm running 126, I think I want to get to like 200, and that's kind of the right size, and then maybe someone else kind of takes it from there?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what the right size is. I think, you continue to learn and experience that as you go along. I think, for me, all the companies in my history that I've been involved with have had a big growth plan, a big growth spurt when I was involved in that. And I was part of that. And it's always been a great experience. I think what I see now more than ever is when you expand quickly. When I had 18 stores, I could get around to the stores and I knew every manager and I knew all the head coaches and I knew everybody. And the culture of the company at that point was me. It was my personality. Today, when you're in 7 states, 6, 7 states, you got 135 stores. I mean, I can't possibly know everyone. I can't possibly spend, everybody wants more Terry time.
Sure.
I can't do that. And so what you see is it's harder to create the culture in a large scale than it is when you're one guy visiting 5, 10, 15 studios. And, you know, it's interesting because I've been looking at Disney and I look at Southwest and I go, how is Southwest creating this culture across a national brand, right? And how does Disney do it? And how do they continue to create and make that magic come alive? And, you know, we've gone outside, we've gone outside to a company called Blue Case to come in and do some consulting with us and to do some executive coaching. Because what's happening is I have to depend on not only the group below me, the executive team, but then the group below them to really deliver that culture, to create the relationships so that we don't have the turnover. We really take the member experience seriously and try to help them out. But I think that culture piece is a big piece. And I think that that would be where I would say when I talk about digesting the growth, sometimes you lose your personality, you lose your culture when you do that too quickly.
Right.
And the second thing is, you know, nobody's a great. I'm not anyway. Many people aren't. I don't know that you can actually hire everything that you want to deliver. You know, you can see somebody come in with great stats and great performance from the past, but maybe it doesn't necessarily match up with your culture. And so, you know, you got to find the right guys, and you know, you hire. You know, for every guy you hire, or every lady you hire, you know, it's a 50-50 kind of deal. You don't really know those people until they get in and they can really deliver for you.
Yeah.
So.
My buddy who runs a venture fund out of DC, I went to business school with, because his name's Mirza, and came into one of our Halo Academies, and he said, "Look, you think I'm in finance? I'm in recruiting." He's like, I spend 50% of my time trying to find executives for my portfolio companies, and that's like the best value add that I can bring to these investments. I got to find people.
Yeah. I tell people that 50% of my time is running a business. The other 50% is in psychology.
Right.
Right. I mean, I gotta talk to people. I've got to inspire, motivate, keep them on track, keep them on point, and it's a big psychological game.
Yeah. So when you look at some of the technology advances that have been made in this industry, whether it's, you know, automated drip campaigns showing you data analytics that, you know, these members haven't shown up in a certain period of time, and we've got a digital plan, and we've got a calling effort. I remember you told me you had a calling effort, right? You know, when things reopened, you had like everyone in a room, and it was like basically like a SWAT team calling every member, you know, individually. How have you, given that you're old school and you know what works, and say, look, technology is a weapon, but it's not the solution. Like we're building a community here, and this is about you and me looking at each other in the eye, me getting you results. This isn't me sending you like here's your stats, and like I don't want to talk to you because that costs me money to staff that. So how do you toggle between utilizing technology and having people understand like that's not an excuse?
Well, I think it's a toolbox, right? Technology is a toolbox. You hire a carpenter or you hire somebody to come over, a maintenance guy to come work on your house, he brings his toolbox. And if the only tool he's got in his toolbox is a hammer, we got a problem. You're not going to be able to build too good of a house that way. So I look at technology as a toolbox. I go, man, what are those toolboxes? And I'll give you a couple examples where technology or the toolbox helped us out. So, you know, 5 years ago, QR codes were out, right? Nobody used QR codes. We tried it. We couldn't get the damn things to work. Right. All of a sudden now, when the restaurants go, you can't get a menu, you can't do anything. All of a sudden, everybody goes, QR code, QR code. So we took advantage of that. Everybody in today's world understands how QR codes work on your phone, how you pick it up, how you do it. So we took our guest passes, we took our stick in the mud signs, we took our banners, we took our billboards, and we put QR codes on them that automatically take people to a landing page, drop your name, your information in. So that was one way that we did it. That's the other thing is, in today's world, number 2 tool in the toolbox is in today's world, nobody's answering their damn phones, right? I don't do it. I see a number come up, and if I don't recognize that number, I don't pick up the phone.
Yep.
So text messaging in the right way, and I know there's some legal pieces to that, but text messaging now has become the communique of today's world. Even emails. I mean, emails are good to your members. We're seeing 35 to 55% open rates on our emails to our members, but to non-members, much lower open rate. And so text messaging is working. We got a platform called Scipio that we have a automated program that goes out to our frozen members, to our members that have canceled and want to come back. And we're putting a lot of emphasis on that too. We're putting a lot of emphasis on members that said, we love the brand, we love the coaches, we're going to come back, but we're not going to do it until post-COVID. That being said, you can have the best toolbox or all the technology that you want, but without a guy to work that technology, without the human component, the person behind it, you got to have the carpenter, you got to have the plumber, you got to have the electrician to actually use the tools. And that really is where the human element comes back into it. And I'm still a big, people person, face to face. We saw, everybody's on Zoom, Zoom, calls, and that's fantastic. But the reality is, when I got my teams back together, when I started going out and talking, man, it was like, we're social beings, right? Yep. So there was a lot that to be said for, you got to have the toolbox, you got to have the technology, but you really need the carpenter or the guy to work the toolbox.
Yeah. So in your network, you do Tuesdays with Terry. Throughout the Orange Theory, how important is it to you to get best practices from kind of, whether it's inside the network, outside the network, coming to Ursa? You're like a kind of continuous sponge of information. Say, okay, this is what I can take and this is what I can give. And I think you've probably been given a lot more than you take. But give us some of the highlights or takeaways from Tuesdays with Terry, where like, hey, this has kind of changed I've helped people, get through this.
Great question, great thought there. But I don't know where I heard this, but learning is never over for the true professional, right? Mm-hmm. And so we're always learning. I mean, I learned things the last 2 days here at Ursa. I talked to you in a side conversation. I learned things and I get ideas, and I love that. I love to do that. And I also love helping people. Yeah. I'm a fan of that. I'm a big fan of giving back. I'm a big fan, and a lot because of you, Pete, have helped me to achieve some success in my life. And a big part of that is when you get success is not just, beating your chest, but when you get to the top of that mountain or you get to that plateau, you turn around, you reach down, and you help the next guy. You grab their hand and you pull them up. And so because of that, I've really tried to give back personally. I've tried to help a lot of the Orange Theory franchises, and that's really how Tuesday with Terry got started. About 3 months ago, I actually started my own podcast called Tuesdays with Terry. You can get it. Go to that on TuesdayWithTerry.com and find it. It's on Anchor.
Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes. That's great. But, so hold on, that's for anyone, not
that's
just
anyone.
for
I talk
OTF.
About
I thought it was an OTF internal.
I used to do that.
Oh, okay.
Now I have a podcast that I do Tuesdays with Terry, where I focus on 4 things. I focus on how to be a better person and self-empowerment. I talk about leadership. I talk about sales and marketing, and I talk about entrepreneurship and business. Some of the things you need to focus on.
Are you doing interviews, or you're basically doing riffs and kind of like a more of like a professor type of monologues?
The mostly monologues.
Yeah.
In the last 3 months, because I'm just trying to get my following going. And some of that is really kind of catered to the Orange Theory network and to the fitness side of the industry. But I'm also writing a book, and
Got a title?
Working on it. I've got a couple different titles, but we don't have one finalized at this moment. But it's going to be kind of short stories, all on those 4 pillars of self-empowerment, leadership, marketing, sales, and entrepreneurship. But the reason I say that is because the reason I started Tuesdays with Terry was to give back and was to help other people. And so because of that, people call me, want to talk to me, and they want to share their ideas. But your question was, what about best practices and how valuable is that? The value of talking to other people, coming together, soliciting ideas, it creates sparks, right? So I talk to people inside the industry and outside the industry. I'm looking for more ideas, more things. So.
Yeah. So in closing here, obviously we don't know what the next 3 to 6 months hold, but we know what the next 5 to 10 years holds, which is back to some level of normalization, growth. There's a lot of capital out there. There's a lot of strong businesses that are going to figure out a way to get through to the other side and become very valuable businesses. What are some of the things that you're looking forward to over the next, couple of years with your team?
Well, just, one is, when we went through COVID, one of the lessons we learned was less is more, right? So we cut back on staff. We got lean and mean.
Yeah.
We had to survive. We had to get through it. We had to reopen with a semblance of a team. And I would say the second thing is, for everybody listening, is there's always a way. There is always a way.
It's true.
You just have to find it. And a lot of people say, well, I don't have the resources. But what really is happening is we just have to be creative. We have to be creative in our thinking. And we have to be resourceful to try to find the way. I think that we didn't talk about this, Pete, but I do think that the digital platform in fitness is here to be reckoned with. I think it's big. We have OT Live in the Orange Theory
I
Network.
heard it's doing really well.
Yeah, I mean, and so that's a way that we did. We worked through the COVID shutdown as we created our own OT Live where people could take Orange Theory at home. We did outdoor workouts. We replaced and moved all of our equipment around in our studio to create social distancing. And that's what I'm saying is, if you're creative enough, there's always a way. I think, the next 12 to 18 months, again, who knows, right? I don't have a crystal ball. You don't have a crystal ball. But my expectation is that people are social beings. I said that when I talked about us meeting. I think that the bricks and mortar studios and clubs are there to stay. I do think that there's a portion of the online and digital platform that is going to be a supplement, but not a replacement to the fitness in the fitness world. But I'm looking for, what we also see happening in the fitness arena is we see new models emerging and new groups coming out, looking at things a little bit differently. So it's always evolving. It's always changing. It's coming back. It's going to take us a little bit longer to get there than we thought. But isn't that true in life? It always takes us a little longer than we thought,
Sure.
and a little bit more money than we planned.
Yeah. Well, when you got to enjoy the ride at the same time, right? I mean, we're on a roller coaster. Fasten your seatbelt, but we're blessed that we live in this country, and you can be an entrepreneur and you can decide you want to go a different path. And there's really not much red tape to following your passion. So everything you've done for the industry, glad we're really strong friends, and I love where you've gone, started and where you got into, and look forward to doing a podcast number 3 next year, and we'll give people a further update, and we'll have the title to the book, and we'll have a nice following on Tuesdays with Terry, and then Tuesday nights with Petey Mo.
Good stuff, Pete. I appreciate it.
All right,
Thanks
buddy.
so much.
Great to see you.